Welcome to the Wisdom to Wealth podcast. This is the podcast where I get to interview the wealthiest entrepreneurs and business owners in the world. I am your host, Shamar Star Cox, TV producer and marketing coach. My goal is to help 6 and 7 figure business owners get seen and get paid by creating binge-worthy videos on social media. I am also the founder of the Convert Content to Cash Challenge. So if you want to learn how to create content that sells, feel free to DM the word challenge accepted on Instagram, LinkedIn, or TikTok, and I will send you a personal invite. Today, we have the powerful Alice Inoue with us. She is a nationally award winning author and life expert, as well as the founder of Happiness You, a business dedicated to personal growth and workplace well being. Alice is also the creator of the Master Your Soul Superpowers Personality Assessment, used by companies like McDonald's, Walmart, and Gap to strengthen leadership and team communication. And she is a nationally award-winning author of 10 books on self-growth and happiness. Alice, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Star. It's so great to be here.
Absolutely. So let's jump right into your story. Take us on your journey from zero to wealth.
Oh my goodness. All right. So it's I would say that this particular business, Happiness You, we'll talk about that one. It started with an idea, as everything does. And you know how in your head you think the idea is the best idea ever, and oh my God, everyone is going to want this business. And it was so inspiring that I took a couple months to write the business plan and get it all going. And what the business is I wanted to do an in-person educational center based on mental well-being, all the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, like all the things that you didn't learn in school. School is like get good grades and, do all this stuff to be successful. But I really, over the last 25 years working in personal growth, I knew that to be successful without, I have to, cultivate what's within. So I wanted to open a school with students and membership, like a gym, right? A gym for your body, but ours is gym for your mind. So went to the bank. They said no. And then I rewrote it. You do some tweaks. I went to the bank. They said no. And so then what happened was they said, oh, you need to have skin in the game. So we'll give you half the amount you want. And then that was like most of my savings, right? So anyway, it started from there. I thought it was a great idea that we would open. Everybody would just come and sign up, and we'd have this thriving community of people wanting to learn about life and success. And it turned out really differently. Everyone loved the idea. Who doesn't love the idea of happiness or a place called Happiness U or university? But it was just more talk like, hey, it's a great idea. But to actually get a person through the door was difficult. So we can talk more as we go. But long story short, you just keep going, reinventing, finding the niche, coming up with new ideas. So what it is today is not what it was when it started. And so I think the journey just was the typical entrepreneurial journey of trying to be super, super creative while trying to reserve your resources.
Yeah. Love it. Oh, my favorite part is when you said what it was back then is not what it is today. And there are some, I come across entrepreneurs and business owners who are just starting out, and they say, I have to get it right now, because this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I'm like, you're not. This is just a season in your life. Yeah. And you are saying like, it's the university, as in the name, remain the same, but what you were teaching and how you're helping your people has shifted because your focus is on helping and serving them. So how did you land on Happiness You? You talked a little bit about, there's a gym for like your physical body. And I wrote this in the chat. You said, but we didn't have a gym for your mind. Like, what happened in your life that made you go, I need to create this so that others can experience it?
A couple good things, really. So it's relatively easy when you have something that you want to share with others and you charge a fee. I got so much dollars. And so I was thinking, I've been doing this, I call it life guidance. I don't think of myself as a coach, but I sort of think of myself as a life guide. So I've been doing it a while. I had a big community. I thought, wow, what if I could do one to many? And what if I could own that space to do one to many? So it was really the fact that I learned in my own life that, hey, if I don't learn and tend to my inner world, then I can't manifest what I want in my outer world. If I feel abundant within, I can actually attract that without. And it sounds so esoteric and so out there, but it really is the truth. It's your mindset is everything. So I just thought it was a great idea, but to get someone to leave their house to come for like a $20, $25 class was hard. Getting people to sign up for like a monthly membership where you can come to all the classes you want, that was a bit of a stretch. So people, I thought, you know what it ended up being like? That business model was like insurance. It was just insurance. People just loved to know that it was in the community. If they were unhappy, they could come. But meanwhile, nobody needed to come. So people would say, I don't need happiness. You should talk to my wife. I don't need happiness. You should talk to so-and-so. So it was just really about 3 or 4 friends hanging out while I was losing thousands a month. So it was, yeah.
I love that. Your analogy is amazing. You're like, it became like insurance, because that is exactly the mindset of people like, I don't need this. Let somebody else have it. And I love that you didn't let that stop you, though. Like, I remember when you and I were talking on the pre-interview call, and you said, you went to the bank to get this loan, and they were like, we're only going to give you half. And you were like, well, I don't want to use my money. But then you had an experience where you recognize, like, well, actually, I'm just going to let you tell a story.
Okay. It was really, because I, like you, believe that everything happens in the right place at the right time for the right reason, but we are the fuel that gets us to whatever space that is. And so when they told me they wanted me to come up with a large sum of money to match it, so they're willing to give me money, but they saw the little money in my savings, I actually felt a little depressed, a little sad, because I mean, that kind of money, when you're starting out, you earned every little dime by what you did, and you saved it. So it was concentrated. It wasn't like I made it off stock. It was like, this is like real money, kind of, sort of. So I was a little depressed, and I thought, you know what? Why can't I just stay doing what I'm doing, writing books and doing teaching? Why would I go through that risk? So I was driving to somewhere on a freeway, and it was a little lightly rainy. And it's so clear that even though this was 12 years ago, I was driving, and all of a sudden, everything's going good on the freeway, but something's wacky when you see something out of the corner of your eye kind of moving in. It was this car. And so I was like, oh, the car is skidding in, hit the brakes. All of a sudden you hear this, screeching. And then, not kidding you, everything got so silent. I felt like I was in slow motion. I rose above the car almost. And I heard my voice is as clear as day. Is this it? Does life just end like that? Like, wow, is life over? It was such a strong voice. And then the next thing I knew, I was back in that car, an inch away from the other guy, cars honking, raining. And I just said, gosh, you know what? I can die in death, but I can't die with this dream in my heart of happiness you. So that's where it came from. And I went back, I started it, and it was a knowing. It was a knowing, but I'm still human. So I had to go through all the challenges of having a physical brick and mortar space that after 3 years of being there, the homeless moved in, surrounded my building. Students wouldn't come because we built a little bit of student, body then. Then Friday night, nobody's coming because homeless are just like destroying the cars. And so then to have to move and still eat that lease for 2 years to another location, just to make it work. I mean, it was hard.
Wow. I mean, your story, your near to death experience is so powerful. And the line that you said, I can die with this debt, but I can't die with this dream in my heart. And that to me just spoke so many volumes, because there are a lot of people where they have business ideas, or they want to understand their purpose, or they have this dream, but they're too afraid to go after it because they think they don't have enough money for it. They think they don't have the skill set for it. But here you were, you nearly walked away because you were like, you know what, let me just settle. And then this experience happened to put you back on the right path. And it reminds me of when I started my business. I was going to work with a business coach. Now, I didn't have the money. I always use air quotes because we always say we don't have the money, but the money is there. Your eyes just aren't open to it.
Yes,
so
yes.
I didn't have the money to work with this business coach. But I remember praying to God and saying, Lord, I need you to make a way, because I'm so tired of money being an issue for me. And in that moment, he reminded me that I had a retirement account. Now, let me tell you, for years, I couldn't remember the name of this retirement account, and I couldn't remember the password. But in the moment when I was praying for a solution, the name came to me, and so did the pastor. Now I felt like this is because it was another moment like where it's like, this is my life savings. Like, this doesn't work out. I now spent my future savings as well, right?
Right.
Just knew that I knew that I knew that this is where I needed to go. Like, I didn't need that money to sit in that account anymore because it wasn't doing anything for me. I needed it to fund my actual future. And
Yeah.
because I stepped outside of that fear, I was able to actually invest in the coach, build a successful business, and teach others how to too. And so, what I love about your story is that fear can have us settling for a life that was not meant for us. But when you're operating in faith or you're operating in your knowing, like this helps you to step into the life that you were created to have. And so I want to know from you, for Happiness You, what are like 3 things that you teach your clients so that they can really harness this happiness and live the life that they were called to live?
Well, when I started or prior to opening, once I decided to do it, once you decide, you're all in. It's like once you're decide, you actually pull forth all that needs for that first step to the business. So we started with guiding principles. So I have principles, right? Just like there's God's principles and the things in the Bible. So the ones that we had 10 of them, but the first one, I'll just share that one is nothing happens to you, everything happens for you. Now, it's not new, it's been around, but we just sort of adopted that as, hey, if everything happened for me, like if you look at every obstacle as a way for you to grow, then you actually continue to grow. Whereas most people, it's like obstacles stop. So if you ask the right questions, you get the answer, and then you go through the gate, right? So that's really one, and taking responsibility for everything, whether you like them or not, did it or not, whether you caused it or not, just anything in your life, it's for you. So we started developing that mindset. And then the second thing that I talk about, and I think I mentioned with you, is getting to know who you are today as you are today. Because 5 years ago, I might be the person who was scared to go on stage, but now I have more experience. And so now I can. So you can't keep talking about a storyline that's old, like, oh, I don't do this, or I'm not that kind of person, or, I'm not one to do. So you are. Maybe you are today, and don't get stuck in a storyline that's like old. And we do that. Like we change clothes, right? All the time as we grow, we change hair color, hairstyle, but we forget that our being also grows and evolves. And if you don't sit with yourself alone and see where you are today, you're going to be on the map of a life that's past, not your present life. So getting present with who you are is the second one I talk about. And then the final one is people always see other success like, oh, wow, they're so awesome. They have this or they have that. So the final one is, it's a more recent one that I've been using. Anything that's possible is possible for me. Anything that's so if viral videos are possible for someone, I can't be like, oh, I never, it's not possible. I'm just not the kind of person to do that, right? So if anything that's possible, it's possible for me. If I see it out there and it's happening, it's possible. So it's that opening of the mindset. But don't get anything wrong. No matter what path you go on, you're going to have your heaven and your hell. You're going to be in hell, and then you're going to manage it just when you think you've transcended that first layer of hell, and you get to heaven, another layer of hell will come to greet you, and it's a never-ending series of heaven and hell as you grow a business. So but you're on the right path.
I want to scream. These tips are so good. My spirit is jumping outside of my body. I love when you said anything is possible. Like if you've seen it happen, then anything is possible, especially because sometimes, we get into this funky thought process that's like, well, that could only happen for that person because it's that person. And it's like, what makes them so special that it works for them, but it won't work for you? So I really love that you talked about that. Even I do that to myself. I'll be like, oh, well, that's only meant for that person, but not for me. And then I have to tell myself this is a limiting belief. But why do I have this belief? Oftentimes, limiting beliefs come from the way that we view ourselves. And that means in that moment, I'm viewing myself as less than. And I need to, one, stop, because if I don't, then I'm not going to be able to get over that hump, right? So I really love that you said that. I'm going to meditate on that. I'm going to adopt that one for me too. Thank you for saying that.
And it's really true. And if it's not meant for you, you'll come to so many obstacles that you'll have learned a lot and say, okay, I explored it. that's not for me. But you can't just say it's not for me. You gotta, I believe you if you experience it and it's not for you. But yeah, so life is really interesting. And the classic ways to think about life exist, even in this majorly unprecedented, accelerating world. The human being, the human being, and how we move through life and how we grow and evolve. And there's nothing that's old in that. It's like we have to still keep growing, and no matter how many tools and fidgets and things we have, it's still an inside work to actually raise ourselves up, in my experience.
I love that. Oh, so powerful. Like we got to at least try it. Another thing you said, you didn't say it like this, but that's how I took it. I wrote it on the screen to break the old storylines. We do tend to get ourselves stuck in storylines where it's like, okay, this story serves you in one level of your life, but now you're on the next level, and it's okay to let go of that story. Like
Yeah.
when I was building my business to 6 figures, I had a set of stories that I would tell all the time that would attract my audience that really helped. And then as I scale my business, I realized I don't need to tell these stories anymore. And part of me is like, I want to hold on to the stories, but it's like, I don't need to tell these stories anymore. My life is ever evolving. And now I have new stories that I can tell. So I really love that you shared that. Did you want to add anything to that before I ask you this next question?
No, but I just want to regroup this whole thing on the story. I think everything we talk about is important, but that really is important, because if you can't see the reality of who you are today, you won't be able to bring in the reality that you want, and you'll live in a fantasy of someday this is what's going to happen, or you're just going to miss the boat because you never even opened up to it. So yeah, storylines, and that's why it's important to spend time on your own. Who are you today? Like if you and I hadn't seen each other for 10 years, it'd be like, Star, what's going on? What colors do you like now? What do you like to eat? And then I would get an update. But when do you update yourself? And that's why it's so important to spend time with yourself.
I love that. Oh, I just love that. Okay, so let me ask you this question. As a business owner, how do you stay aligned with your purpose and values while growing your wealth and influence?
I think it comes hand in hand. So like, how do you do that? What you do is you create a business strategy plan. You sit down and you say, where am I? Who am I? I have it against my whole wall here. It has the values and everything, and not just fake values, like values that we really live by. And it has like a breakdown of every quarter of the projects we want to do, how we want to do it. And to me, that brings success. Otherwise, I'm like the shiny coin. Hey, we have a big marketing plan here. You want $10,000? We can do that. And then you start diluting your energy and you never get anywhere. So I just think like, as much as we have to juggle and evolve as we lose clients or gain clients, you just still have to have that plan. So I'm really into like a strategic plan for like every year in the beginning of the year, just writing out your the marks you want to hit. It can change, but if you have a plan, you can also say no to people much easier.
Yeah, I really love that. I love that you talked about the plan, but then also having your values and it's written down and you can actually see it. It makes me think of a scripture in the Bible that says, write the vision, make it plain so that those on the run can see it. And I think oftentimes we don't recognize that we're the ones on the run, right? Like we're running a business, we're running our families, and we're always on the go. And so having like that vision right in front of you, your values, what are your goals? What are your dreams? I remember I used to hate doing goals. I thought goal setting was like pointless, mainly because I would set the goals and they would not get accomplished. And I'm like, I don't understand this. And then one year I decided I'm going to do something different. I heard someone say this on TikTok. They said they wrote down their goals every day and spoke it out loud. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to do that. And within the first 3 months of doing that, I hit like 8 of my goals. And I was like, what in the world? What I noticed was different was that my goals were right in front of me at this time. It was no longer a set it and forget it. It was right in front of me so I can always see it and I knew what I was going after. So that's what I thought about when you talk about you wrote down your values and they're sitting right in front of you. Like it's so important to be reminded of that.
Yes.
So let me ask you this question. This one here. What do you feel is your biggest blind spot right now when it comes to getting to the next level in your business, and how are you addressing it?
I think it's the same thing. I mean, all these things that I went through in year one, now in the business is 12 years. It's the same thing. Getting to that next level means I have to have a paradigm shift about my level. So just as I get through this one level and I'm like, wow, enjoying this as human beings, we by nature want to grow. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I want to shrink, I want to do less, be less, I want to be weak. We want to be strong. But so we get into this thing, and we're like, okay, so I'm here. And I think we might have talked about this, like the beast gets bigger, you got to feed the beast more, right? So, but your beast is growing. And sometimes, when I say beast, I mean the business, right? So it's like, it just keeps growing. So same thing. I have it right here. Anything that's possible is possible for me. So I see things like, wow, these what is it called? These businesses that are household names, right? They're everywhere, household names. And I'm just a this, and these are household names. But if I want to play in that arena, I have to know that it's possible for me. So I continue to have blind spots. I'm going, and I realize, oh gosh, you know what? I'm having that mindset that, because I don't have an education like the average teacher coach. I have no doctorate, no PhD, no therapy license. I do all the stuff that you would think I would have all these licenses, but I don't. So all it was is I want to help people, and you do your own self-study, you do all that, but most people look for like licenses or like what qualifies you. And so that is a blind spot, I guess you could call it, that always shows up, and it's in the back of my mind, like, oh, you don't have an MBA, so how are you going to go do this, thing? And so it's true. It's sheer trust in oneself. But yeah, the blind spot is continually there.
Oh, that part right there. Share trust in oneself. Like that is the thing that we all need to have. I feel like that's a blind spot no matter what level you get to, right? Like when you're starting out, it's like, do I trust myself? Then you build that trust for that level. Yeah. And then you need to do it again for the next level. So I really love that you talked about that. And like the world will always make us feel like we don't have enough, we don't know enough, we haven't done enough, right? Like even if you had all those credentials, it would be something else, right?
Exactly. And so we have these stories like, oh, I didn't get that because I don't have the credential. And when in fact, once I haven't fully transcended it, but as you transcend it, you start seeing evidence that people don't care. They just like, oh, we like your energy and you help us, so we don't care. And then after a while, I kind of feel, I'll use the word maybe a little happy about it, because now I can just be who I am. I'm not governed by any licensee, or I can just do what I do in the way that I do it and be free. And I love that. But that's constant. It's constant. You always think, when I get there, everything's going to go smooth. No, you get there and another level of obstacle comes. So if you have that mindset, you'll be fine. But if you just stop and do nothing, that's where we stagnate.
I feel like I have finally accepted that there's no like getting there. Because like you said, like you'll get there, then there's something else, right? Or like, we have this goal, we have this desire, like this is what I really want in life, then you accomplish it. And guess what? You have so much more life to live. So now it's something else that you want to get, right? Like there's always something that you're trying to accomplish. So I really love that you shared that. And I love everything that you've been talking about on this podcast. So tell us a little bit more about Happiness You and how people can get a chance to work with you.
Oh, okay. So Happiness You, we, and I will say that we were in person. Then over the pandemic, all the studios closed. So we actually have an online platform for Happiness You, and it's simply we call it the Happiness You Hui. Hui in Hawaiian means like a group. And so what it is we do this kind of things like trainings and all of that online. And it's all on our website, obviously.
Awesome. And then tell us more about the superpower assessment. I'm dropping the link inside the chat now so that people can get access to it.
So I like to write books just because I love to get the whatever knowledge I gained and get it out there. And one day, it was back in 2019, the superheroes were really big. Remember in the movies, there's all these superhero movies. And I had this idea to create a person. I wanted to do a book on the positivity or something like that. Anyway, the partner that helped me draw the heroes said, hey, superheroes are hot. And aren't there more than one superpowers? And long story short, I ended up taking the Eastern medicine. There's the 5 elements of water, wood, fire, earth, and metal. I personified them, made them into superheroes, created a personality assessment. And then when you take the assessment, it is, white paper credentialed now, psychometrically validated, and you take it and you will get your superhero archetype and a manual that has everything about you, from your motto to your superpowers to your weaknesses, this whole manual on how to be the best you can be. And it has a lot of this wisdom in there in applicable ways. So that is the superpowers book. I just was going to use it for fun, but one thing led to another, as life does. And then I got into McDonald's, and it was just to test it out, but it was with a really high level of the organization, so the C-suite. And then it kind of cascaded down. So I started working with them, and then others that moved away went to like different companies. So I've been doing it with corporate training, leadership training. It's a communication tool. So it's really evolved. And so I'm really, I really love that creation. That's what I'm inspired by now.
Oh, I love that. And I just dropped the details inside of the chat. It's also displayed on the screen. You can email Alice at power@masteryoursuperpowers.com, and she'll send you a code so that you can get access to the superpower assessment. I think that's so powerful. So Alice, I just want to say thank you so much for, actually, before I say thank you so much, let me ask you this final question.
Okay.
And that final question is, what's one decision or shift you made in your business that really skyrocketed you to the next level?
I'm going to say this. Okay, I'm going to say this because I think this is it. You're in that one layer of whatever, and you're doing well, and you want to jump into that next layer. It was me consciously blurring the edges. Instead of saying it's the next level, it became a blur. And the way I did that was with this. I said, gosh, you know what? I took value of what I was doing, and I thought, how can that value be applied in a bigger way at the next level? So I actually consciously did this. And what that did was it opened up a blurry path. Didn't know how I was going to get there. The synchronicity and circumstances came to meet me, but I had to create that mindset. So what it was this. Is it possible that I could do the same thing that I'm doing here for a bigger audience? Is it possible? I would like to do that. That is what I'd like to do. But I didn't know how it was going to happen. So, and how, as you talk, God will bring you the people and all that. And that's what happened. It was just, that is it. So it is your mindset. When you are ready and you speak it out loud, like you were saying, and then you don't have attachment to it. Somehow it was like, whoa, you do all this marketing and try to, cold calls. And then all of a sudden it comes from some random place. So it's just setting that, knowing that it's time. And I think it was just like, it's time.
Oh, I love that. I just love the way that your brain works. It wasn't like, okay, if I want to reach more people, I have to change everything that I'm doing. It wasn't that at all. It was like, how can I take this so that it can reach more people? And I love that you call it blurring the edges as opposed to going to the next level. You were really just expounding what you already do. So that's super powerful. Thank you, Alice, so much for joining us. Your story has been such a blessing. You have dropped a lot of wisdom today. And thank you to all of you who are able to tune in today. You are engaging inside the chat. We truly do appreciate all of your support for the podcast. We'll be back again on Monday with a new episode. Oh, I guess either Monday or Tuesday. It'll be a solo episode for Wisdom to Wealth. Alice, thank you again.
Thank you, Star.
Bye, everyone.